All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're basically putting on our detective hats and stepping right into the investigative world of corpus linguistics. We're going to look at how researchers take these massive, honestly overwhelming walls of text and decode them to reveal the hidden architecture of human language. If you've ever wondered how we actually prove how language works in the wild, well, you're in the exact right place. So, can simply counting words unlock the secrets of human culture? On the surface, counting words sounds like the most dry, basic math imaginable. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But as we're going to see, treating language like raw data completely transforms word counting from a simple tally into a ridiculously powerful magnifying glass. We're going to bust the myth that frequency lists are just basic statistics and show you how they're literally the master keys to unlocking how societies think, interact, and evolve. Here's our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with the basics, what frequency lists actually are and why they matter. Then we'll navigate some common methodological traps, tackle the normalization math, dive into some real-world examples, and finally, discover why this whole thing is about so much more than just counting.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1. What are frequency lists? The researcher's first clue.
Now, a frequency list is pretty much exactly what it sounds like, but that simplicity? That's its superpower. It's a list of all the words, or tokens as we call them, in a given corpus arranged strictly by how often they pop up. It's the absolute first entry point into understanding language patterns. Without this sorted list, a corpus is just a chaotic bucket of letters, but with it, order finally begins to emerge.
And I think researcher Jane Evison hit the nail on the head here when she said, a corpus itself does not speak. Raw data is completely mute. It just sits there in a hard drive doing absolutely nothing. It takes our software, our specific questions, and our frequency lists to give that data a voice and reveal its hidden patterns. The list is basically the translator between raw text and human insight.
Which brings us to Section 2, Why Frequency Lists Matter, or Making the Data Talk.
Just comparing the most frequent words in different contexts instantly exposes functional differences. Think about everyday conversation. You've got words like I, you, yeah. It's highly interactive, personal, and super immediate. But then flip over to academic discourse. The top words are the, of, that. It relies heavily on noun phrases and abstract concepts. Just by looking at those basic frequency differences, we immediately uncover the stylistic DNA of entirely different genres.
And beyond just comparing genres, these lists are the launchpad for, well, everything else. We're talking keyword analysis, collocation studies, where you look at words that frequently hang out together, lexical profiling, and complex statistical measures like MI or T-scores. The crucial takeaway here is that without these foundational frequency counts, none of those advanced, high-level corpus methodologies could even exist. They're the absolute bedrock of modern linguistic research.
Moving into Section 3, Avoiding Common Researcher Traps. This is the methodological minefield.
Trap number 1 is the myth that bigger is always better. It's so tempting to think you need a billion-word corpus for everything. But here's the truth. Your corpus size has to match your research purpose. If you're studying incredibly rare words, then yeah, for sure, you need a massive dataset. But if you want to study frequent grammatical items, like those pronouns we just talked about, a highly targeted small corpus of just 1,000 words might be perfectly fine. So bigger isn't always better. Appropriate is better.
Trap number 2, assuming frequency equals meaning. Let's say the word run appears 500 times in your list. Okay, high frequency, great. But what does it actually mean? Did someone move quickly? Did they run a business, or did a machine simply run? High frequency doesn't explain how or why a word is used. As a researcher, you have to dive back into the text using concordance analysis to check the context, because a raw number just cannot resolve that kind of ambiguity.
All right, let's try a quick mental exercise. Take the sentence, she said that she would come. If you feed that into a computer program, how is it actually counting those words? Seems obvious, right? Well, let's look at the trap here.
This is where you have to master a really crucial distinction: tokens versus types. Frequency software counts tokens, which are individual occurrences. So in our sentence, there are 6 tokens. But wait, the word she appears twice. That means while the token count is 6, the unique word count, what we call the type, is only 5. The trap is that raw token counts can falsely inflate repetition without actually showing you the true variety of vocabulary being used.
And the final trap is blindly trusting your software's automatic lemmatization. Lemmatization is just when the program groups similar words together, like throwing teach, teaches, and taught under the base word teach. Super helpful, but the software definitely makes mistakes. It might mistakenly combine the noun cite, like a website, with the verb sit, just because they're spelled similarly. You always have to critically evaluate your software output. You're the detective. The software is just your magnifying glass.
All right, on to Section 4, the normalization math, finding the true story.
Imagine you're comparing two different datasets. Corpus A is pretty small, say 10,000 words. Corpus B is massive, 100,000 words. Now let's say the word we shows up 200 times in Corpus A and 500 times in Corpus B. If you only look at that raw frequency, you jump to the conclusion that Corpus B uses the word we way more. But that is dangerously misleading, because Corpus B is 10 times larger. When you do the math, when you normalize the data to see how often we occurs per 1,000 words, the true story emerges. It actually appears 20 times per 1,000 in the smaller Corpus A and only 5 times per 1,000 in Corpus B. So proportionally, Corpus A uses the word we significantly more. This normalization step, completely non-negotiable if you want valid comparisons.
Section 5, real-world frequency examples. Let's track some culture and genre.
A really fantastic, accessible example of this is the Google Ngram Viewer. It tracks word frequencies across millions of digitized books spanning centuries. If you map out the words telegraph and internet, you literally see history unfolding right in front of you. Telegraph peaks massively in the 19th century and then plummets, while internet flatlines until the 1990s and then absolutely skyrockets. This proves that frequency lists aren't just dry grammar tools, they're direct visual reflections of social and technological shifts. And when we scale this up, the results are just staggering. Over 1 billion words. That's the size of the corpus of contemporary American English, or COCA. By tracking 1 billion words across spoken language, fiction, magazines, and news, data detectives can spot incredibly specific genre vocabulary. Take the word bullish, for instance. It hides almost exclusively in financial news. You're definitely not finding it in romantic fiction. Frequency lists at this massive scale literally map out the distinct territories of different genres.
They also build incredibly essential practical tools. Take researcher Avril Coxhead. She used frequency lists to build the academic word list. By comparing academic texts against casual conversations, she isolated the exact core vocabulary that students need to survive in academia. Words like analyze, concept, significant, and methodology. So this isn't just academic theory, it's a direct practical application that empowers millions of students worldwide to tackle complex texts.
Finally, Section 6, more than just counting, the final verdict.
If you take away only one thing from this explainer, let it be this. Frequency lists transform raw text into observable linguistic evidence. They are the essential starting point. But, remembering all those traps we just covered, their true value relies entirely on you. The researcher has to expertly navigate context, lemmatization, and normalization to make absolutely sure the evidence is telling the truth.
I want to leave you with a final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. Do frequency lists tell us what language inherently means, or do they merely reflect what society chooses to repeat most often? Ultimately, repetition is meaningful. It reflects our habits, our conventions, and our desires. When we look at a frequency list, we aren't just looking at a math table. We're looking squarely into a mirror that reflects human culture itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the data around you.